All right. Yeah. Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay.
Okay, we're waiting for James to come back in.
No problem. Yeah.
Okay, I'm back. I know why every time I call, I just get it goes to voicemail.
Okay, you're on the air, James.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll start. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Personal Coffee Talks morning show. And my name is James Slim Overton, and we are here with co-host Leah Drake Stitt. And if you don't see the Colonel is on another vacation. I think we're going to change his name from the Colonel to the Vacationer. But another well-deserved vacation for he and his family. You know, he feels like he wants to get it in while he can get it in and spend more time with family. So we understand that. And he's not here. And we sure wanted him here today because our guest is a 20-year veteran of the Navy military. So, but let me introduce our special guest this morning. And her name is Patricia Falcon. And we want to have her on. You know, this is Black History Month, and we've been doing a lot of shows on Black history. But this is also Heart Awareness Month. And we brought on Miss Falcon because she is a heart transplant recipient like myself. But this is the first time we've had a lady on to represent a heart transplant patient. And, you know, it's sometimes a lot of things are similar that we go through as far as heart transplant patients, but sometimes it's a little different between women and men as far as the symptoms leading up to it. But we're going to talk about that. And also, Patricia is, I said she was a 20-year veteran of the Navy, retired as a chief, Master Chief?
No, senior chief.
Okay. And she also was very active. She was a basketball player in her college days and maybe before. So she was a physical specimen of health. So, and I said that to just remind you that, you know, even though people can really be healthy, and she'll tell you about her time in the military, you know, how she paid attention to her health, but you can still, you know, be a heart failure patient, you know, and because of your history and anything. So let her get into it. Welcome, Patricia Falcon.
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning to both you and Leah.
Good morning.
Yes. And
thanks for agreeing to be on.
Yeah, thank you. I was going to say too, and this is a salute to the Colonel.
Okay.
Yep. Say hello to him.
I'm sure he will receive that.
Yes. I had listened to some previous coffee talks before. So I'm going to say this because I am military and I observe stuff, but I got to say it. And don't y'all talk about me. But I know Colonel usually give that little caveat because I know I'm probably going to say some stuff that I want to make sure.
You are so right. You are so right.
I want y'all to say that little caveat y'all normally say.
Oh yeah,
so,
yeah. Let me see if I can say it. Let's see the views.
I think she said she was going to say it for us, James.
Oh no, I'm not sure what it is, but I know y'all need to say something because I'm probably going to say something.
The views and opinions expressed by the host and the guests. That of the host and the guests only, and not of the radio station or Facebook Live or later on YouTube. So that is our disclaimer there. So if you hear something that, you know, might offend or whatever, it is our opinions and views only.
Yeah.
We take responsibility. You feel better, so you can go at it.
Yeah, because I'm going to say the Lord's name and stuff. So I want to make sure.
It's all right with me. All right.
I'm gonna say his name. But I heard a lot about you, Leah, and Colonel from James, and he spoke so highly of you guys. So when I went to y'all Facebook site and I was like seeing how involved you guys are in stuff, I was like in awe. You know, and amazed at what y'all doing around the city and stuff. And so hats go off to you guys. And also to have a forum like this is a huge blessing because it's just a good thing for other people to know what's going on. Sometimes they don't. And my prayer is that you guys just grow, just grow bigger, because it will allow people who don't get to get out and about to be able to see, your radio show that you have, and to glean something from it that might spark them. And that's my prayer to you guys, because I think it's a great thing.
Well, we receive it in Jesus' name.
Yes, we do.
We receive it, okay?
Yes. Now, what I did was I wrote down my stuff, because I like to, when I have opportunities like this, I kind of don't want to forget certain things. So bear with me as I read off of here, but I'll keep my eyes up looking too as I'm talking. But what I was going to say was, this opportunity that I have, I wanted to say before moving forward, I would like to give God and my Savior Jesus Christ all the honor and glory, for certain would not be here today. And then the host and many others, and then no particular order, starting with my niece, Alicia Williams from Jackson, Tennessee, who is my executor, who from the very beginning jumped on the plane to stand and be the advocate for me when I didn't even know I was still in the world. And she has continued to be my unconditional stability, foundation, and rock. Also came from Tennessee, my dear ride and die cousin, Sheila, the brilliant anesthesiologist doctor in the family, and my dear loving friends, Lee and Nellie, who were there 100% tag teaming in and out to keep a watchful eye on me. And then when my niece had to fly back and forth, they were there. And my niece had to go back because she was also my caretaker for my mother. My mother at the time was 91 years old. And I say precious in gold, tough as nail, God-fearing mother, who had her never-ending prayers for me also. And then the rest of my entire family, near and far, thankful to them. For my faithful neighbor, Mama J, and others loving and got my back neighbors, and a host of countless friends, co-workers, pastors at churches that put me on their sick and shut-in prayers, some I didn't even know. And then now I go into my heartfelt thanks to Portsmouth Naval Hospital, and I'll be more detailed later as I'm talking with James and Leah. But heartfelt thanks to Portsmouth Naval Hospital, and for them knowing when to pass the baton on to Centera Norfolk Heart Hospital. There's not enough time here, nor probably ever will be, for me to give my expressions of sincere gratitude to Centera. Thanks to the many surgeons, doctors, nurse practitioners, care partners, the team that worked and operated the ECMO machine, which I'll talk about the ECMO machine too as well, the physical therapists, the speech and respiratory team, countless other medical staff, pulmonary, then from the food service people to the people cleaning the room. They all played their integral part in my traumatic journey to healing. And after discharge, I add the cardiac rehab team, the in-home healthcare team, and you will learn very soon to be one of your greatest friends for any heart patient recipient is you're always standing in the gap, advocating for you, the faithful heart coordinators. Because once you're in discharge, they become so important to you. And last, I have to say this right here is my gratitude cup runneth over, because surely goodness and mercy showed enough followed me.
Yes, indeed.
All right, now I'm ready.
Yeah. And I echo everything you said, especially the part when you got to Centera. And we had one of the cardiologists from the heart hospital,
wow.
and my coordinator at the time on the show.
Oh my goodness.
I think last year or 2 years ago during Heart Month. So we had them on, and I wanted to especially have my coordinator on there because that's that person that's there with you forever for the rest of your life. Now they might change, over the years, but from now on, that's who we really deal with, the coordinator, whenever we have an issue. So thanks for shouting them out, and all the other people you mentioned. That was so
many
instrumental in our our recovery and just helping us survive that, overcome, that experience. And I like
Right.
to say too, my co-host here, Leah, was someone that I think she might have logged the most visits, or she was really up there near the top of coming to see me and then bringing people with me. And one time even brought the current basketball team over to see me, me
Oh,
being a former basketball player, and the coach
what
and
a
a few
blessing.
basketball players. And Leah, they were bench players. Yeah, and we joked about that when they came there, but
Yeah, that was
told them
funny.
how important they were. So that was a very special moment, and Leah was partially responsible
And
for
don't
that.
forget
So
bringing you your sweet tarts.
yeah, I had a thing about sweet tarts, and she was supposed to bring me maybe 2 boxes, and when she got there, she just had 1 box because she ate one on the way. But anyway,
Got you.
we forgave her for that. But anyway, I just had to shout her out there because
Got you.
she was really important during my
Yeah.
recovery there.
But
Patricia, let me ask you.
let me if you don't
Go
mind,
ahead.
let me say this.
Go ahead.
Just to introduce myself, because I wanted to say those things first with my gratitude, because I didn't want to get caught in the conversation and forget that. But my name is Patricia Falcon. I'm actually from Jackson, Tennessee. I came to Virginia, Hampton Roads area. I retired out of Maryland, and then I got a job offer at my retirement ceremony to come here. And I accepted the job, and then I came here after about 8 months because I asked the company, let me go home first to spend time with my mom and granny, because I had been in the military traveling so much. So I never was really at home a whole lot, other than 2 weeks. You go home for 2 weeks. And my father had passed while I was in the military. So I didn't want to miss that opportunity to go see them, because I know how life is. Once you get going to another career, you don't get that free time to go like you would like. So then I took the job here, came here, and worked with the company, and for 18 years. And then pretty much once I had the heart transplant, my mental, I began to look at life differently than I did before. Usually you look at life, and I'm not speaking for everybody, but for me, when you go through something traumatic, or it could be a death in the family, your mother, father, somebody who you like, it could be just physical things. But once you go through that, I would like to believe it changes you in some way, sometimes for bad for some people, because they get down and depressed or feel sorry for themselves. And then for other people, it lets you know how short life is.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes you appreciate the moment that you have. And that's the journey that I had. Didn't have it at first, because like James, his whole situation was different from mine, where he, and I won't put words, I'll just paraphrase. He had the heart failure, and there were different things they did to help him live. So he kind of knew what journey he was going in. With me, mine was just boom, out the blue, out of all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'll let you talk, because I don't want to like mess your forum up,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
I'll interject as I need to.
yeah. You're going great. I just wanted to mention this as we did the pre-show talk. We were talking about you being in the military and how physically fit you were,
Yep,
even before the military, playing basketball and everything like
yep,
that. And we talked about how once you found out that you had problems with your heart, you not knowing where it came from, but later finding out that it was really deep in your family history. And one of the
right.
things that happens, we don't talk about our family history, health history, until something happens. And then everybody say, yeah, I had that, or your Uncle Joe had heart failure,
Yep.
but you didn't know that. And sometimes knowing that can help you
Mm-hmm.
sort of deal with that heart failure head on, like you said. And you can talk about how it sort of hit you like a storm, because you were like a picture of health, as
Yes.
far as you know. But that history in your family,
Yes.
you were predestined to have this issue. It could have hit you or the next generation, but it hit you because it was in your family. And as healthy as you were, there was something
Mm-hmm.
that you were predisposed to have to deal with at some point, but you didn't know it until it hit you.
Yes. And as a matter of fact, I took a note last night because after speaking with you, you mentioned the genetics part, hereditary part of it. And like I said, my mom, she died at 92. Um, so that was crazy because had a heart transplant, and then my mom's health started declining, so I couldn't help, and it was a whole different. God took me through a whole different thing that I was not prepared for, because I always thought that I would be able to go home if my mom got to that level where she was declining, but I was in the hospital, and it was a very scary thing. But when my mom was in the hospital, I started talking to her doctors, and she had congestive heart failure.
Mhm.
Okay. And I know she had had a heart procedure like years before, but everything, she was in her late 70s, but she was fine from that. But also, too, I started reflecting while I was healing. I had a first cousin who was only 50. She was 49 and at the time, but she was diagnosed with heart failure in Nashville.
Mm.
And so that enlightened me. But then I started learning my mom's sister, two of her sisters had heart issues too. So I started learning all that stuff. So when the doctors asked me when I was in the hospital about history, I didn't know. I just said
Mm.
no, because they were trying to understand, like, why did this happen to me? What was going on that led me to where I was? But I didn't learn all that detail until after. um, and which is good for the rest of the family to kind of know, so they can start getting, because I'm vocal. And then my niece also, to the one who's my advocate, she had had a heart valve replacement years before,
Mm.
but she had no clue as to the heart issue until it happened to me. Then her great aunt started talking and stuff, which are
Mm.
my aunt. So she had a procedure done in Nashville to have a heart valve, which is that same cut that we have. She had to have that same cut you have. And um, so it could be so many things that we're predisposed of. And I would say to people to learn your family genetics, and um, like learn what you could be predisposed to, because it'll help you from high blood pressure to high cholesterol to diabetes, all those things. So you can kind of do some preventive care to help you have a better quality of life. As I'll just say that part right there,
Mhm.
because I'm not going to say it's inevitable that you're going to get whatever they got, because I don't believe that. I believe that you do the best you can. You may not go down the road that your prior family members went through, but the one thing that you do is do the best you can do to try to prevent it from being so much in your early part of your life. Not saying you'll ever get what they got, but at least do your part so it doesn't change your quality of life. And that's where I believe that that's from the eating part and the preventive part, and that's what we'll get into. But when you mentioned the military, you're right. I was in the military 20 years, and one of my personal goals after I got in and realized I was a competitive person. So I played basketball when I first joined the Navy. Matter of fact, I went to the Navy because I wanted to keep playing basketball. I played basketball in college, and at that time they didn't have a WNBA, and so they had this other thing where women could play overseas, but they weren't paying them that much money. So I was like, no, I'm not going to do that. But I still wanted to play ball, so I joined the Navy to continue to play.
Mm.
And once I joined the Navy, and I was just talking to my coach. I still talk to my junior high school coach, which is crazy. I still talk to him and I was talking to him, and he enlightened me, because the school I went to was in my hometown, but it was well known in my hometown. But my whole point is how life is. He was telling me, Pat, you were so good, which I didn't even, I mean, I didn't think about that. I think I'm a very humble person. But when he told me you had the ability, he was trying to talk me into going to Tennessee, the big school, Tennessee.
Mhm.
Uh, um, but he said, you were just that good. And he kept trying to talk to me, but I didn't want to go there. And I had forgotten all about that. I wanted to go in my hometown, and that's where I went. So, but fast forward, joined the military, played basketball in the military. On my physical fitness test, I got outstanding the whole 20 years I was in. That was just a personal goal for me. And that means you were doing the sit-ups, the push-ups, the mile-and-a-half run in record time. And so I always got outstanding. And then I was lifting weights, and I even thought about one time being in a bodybuilding contest because I was just, I'm serious. I mean, I had actually
Picture of
got in
health.
shape. Yeah, I
You're a
got in
picture
shape,
of health.
doing everything. So I never would have thought that I would have came down this journey. And the shocker was when people at work heard what was happening. They were all stunned because they even after I retired from the military, I still was going to the gym like 3 days a week because it was right across from where I worked. And I was walking when on the weekends, but the people at work, when they heard that I had the issue with the heart, they were like, "Wait a minute, Miss Pat is in the hospital for that. She's always eating pretty good." Now, I did eat pork skin sometimes. I ain't gonna tell you right now. But I love some pork skin. And even in Tennessee, they had a fresh pork skin, not the kind you buy
I
in the
know.
store.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
coming from Tennessee, you had to eat pork skin. I lived in
Yeah.
Memphis for a while, so I know. Yes, I
Yeah.
did.
And so
Pat,
I ended up, but overall, I ate pretty healthy. And so when I went through that, they were like, "Man, it's surprising that," because I didn't smoke. I drank socially, wine, not alcohol, like liquor. So they were all stunned that I went through what I went through. But the blessing part of that, after I went through what I went through, and when I went there to talk to them, when I actually just decided to resign, and they had a thing for me, is a lot of them told me, because of you, I said to myself, they said to themselves, they need to get in shape because a lot of them were smoking or they were vaping and not eating healthy. And true enough, when I saw them again, some of them had lost weight. Yeah, all because of what I had gone through.
mm,
And so um, the whole journey sometimes we go through is not always just for us, it's also for other people too.
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
Pat, let me well, first I want to, because I know Leah has a question there. First, I want to say I tried, the station twice and got the business signal. Don't know
Okay.
if it's on my part. And I just want to say to, your friend was wanted to listen on the radio, but
Yeah.
you
But it'll
also
be,
told her they can go to our YouTube page later
yes.
and
Hmm.
pick the whole show up. And I
Yes.
apologize to anybody else about the radio. And it shows you how important it is that
Mhm.
the three of us are here connected by the hip. Each one of us had the road. That's usually the colonel's job, and he has issues sometimes, but not often. And I
Gotcha.
remember one time when Leah wasn't here, and I missed what she does. So that
Gotcha.
shows how important it is for all of us to be
Yep.
here, or we learn each other's jobs, right, Leah?
Exactly. Exactly.
But anyway, Leah was going to ask a question,
Yeah,
but
I
I just
wanted to
wanted to.
ask how
Yeah, go ahead, Leah.
how did it manifest itself as far as your heart problems? What were the signs that you were having heart problems?
See, that's a unique thing about it is I didn't have the typical chest pains or the arm pains or the headache, um, the backache. Sometimes I think in women that men don't have. I
Mhm.
didn't have any of that. It's just that I had a normal day at work. I came home and I learned this later. I don't remember. It's certain things I don't remember as I was going through everything. So I don't remember. People told me because I had called a friend, which I had forgotten about that, and I told her that I felt a little lightheaded or dizzy or something.
Mhm.
And but I don't remember telling her that. But that night when I was here at home, it's just like the quiet voice, and the quiet voice, I equate that to God.
Uh-huh.
I heard that quiet voice said, "You need to go to the doctor and get checked out." And so I was like, "Lord, I'm fine." But that voice just got louder and louder. And it said, "You need to go." And I was like, it was during COVID because it was 2019.
Uh-huh.
Mhm.
And then I was thinking, like, I do not want to, I think it was 2020, I'm sorry. I did not want to, no, 2019, because 2020, I got the I got my heart transplant. But I said, okay, I go to patient first. Then the quiet voice said, no, if you go there, they're going to send you right back home.
Mhm.
Go to Portsmouth Naval, they'll run a test. And if they see anything, they'll run another test. So, and that's really it. I didn't have all that other stuff, and their voice did not stop. So I said, well, Lord, I don't want to go. It's COVID, but I'll go. And I kept thinking about it, work tomorrow. So I ended up going to Portsmouth Naval ER. And when I went there, they asked me why you're there. And then I told them, I said, I know this may sound crazy, but I'm a spiritual person. And it's like the quiet voice said to come over here. I'm just like, she said, you have heart palpitations. No, you feel like you're short of breath. No, she named all these things. I said, no, and then, so then she said, okay, we'll check you in. And she said, have you had your COVID shot? I said, no. And so she said, okay, you got to go sit over here in this tent. So it's inside the building, but I sat there. After about 40 minutes, I'm thinking, they don't believe nothing's wrong with me. I got to work tomorrow. I got to get out of here. I was going to just go home. But then I was like, okay, the quiet voice said, no, just go insist and tell them that you're just feeling something. So I went there and I just started like, I was in Italy for years stationed overseas, and you use your hands a lot. And plus I'm an expressive person. So I was telling them, I said, look, I don't know if y'all believe me, but I was like, and then she said, and then I just like, look, nobody believe. She said, I did this. And she said, do you feel something in your chest? And then I just said, yes. And then when I said
that did it.
Yeah, because I didn't know that, I just said, yes. And then when I said that, as soon as I said yes, she was like walking around the counter and I was going to follow her, but she was like, no, you stay right there. She said, I got to get a wheelchair. I'm like, no, I'm fine. She said, no, we got to get a wheelchair when you send somebody to. So they got me in the wheelchair, wheeled me in the back, and they started running all these tests and blood work. And then they did an EKG. And then next thing you know, they came with the bracelets to check me in. And I was like, whoa, I didn't come in here to check in here. I came here to just get checked out. And then she said, well, no, we want the doctor to see you. They were all calm and everything. And so then I said, well, okay, at least let me go home, because I had just gotten a kitten, a new kitten that I had gotten from the SPCA thing. No, from a friend I had bought, not a friend, but a person I bought this orange cat tabby from, because I love cats. Everybody that know me know I'm a cat lady, and I feed great cats. So let me just say that, put that out there. But matter of fact, here he is.
Okay.
It's cute.
His name is Cassius Clay.
Cassius Clay. Well,
Yeah, that's Cassius. So, but anyway,
Cassius just got her 15 minutes.
It's 15 seconds of fame.
15 seconds of fame.
So I ended up, was there. I said, okay, well, let me go home and do this and that. It said, you drove here? And I'm like, yeah. And they was like, well, you can't leave. So they wouldn't let me leave. And I said, well, let me go get my car and move it, because I parked it in it. They said, no, just give us the keys. They did exactly that. Checked me in the hospital, because they did an EKG too. And see, and I look back at it, that EKG told them something. And it was alarming to them enough that they checked me in and wouldn't let me go. So the signs back to your question, I had no signs other than that spiritual voice telling me to go in.
Wow.
That EKG showed that I was going into heart failure. And so there, the next day, the doctors were talking to me. It was like 6 of them in there. I still did not think anything, because I was talking like normal and I was breathing. They asked me all these questions, and then I was telling. They kept asking me so many questions. I got irritated, and I told them, I said, look, let me just tell you
I
this
know
right
about
here.
that.
No, let me tell you this. Prior to me coming in here, a friend church had a bike ride, and so in order to do the bike ride, I would ride in the neighborhood like 5 miles 3 times, or 7 miles 3 times a week for the bike race, so I can bike ride, so I can be prepared. And then I said, the bike ride came, it's 12 miles. Me and the friend felt so good, we rode the bike 15 miles. And I did not feel, I told him I wasn't short of breath. I didn't feel dizzy. I didn't feel nauseous. And I said, because of COVID, we didn't go out to eat or anything then. But when I came home, I ate and I felt fine. So they were all surprised with what had occurred and stuff. And so and so once the second day I was there though, Leah, that's when I began to have those symptoms that people are more aware. I was short of breath. I was nauseous. I was throwing up. Because I, and so they did a procedure, to try to, because I had what James had, an enlarged heart.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like they saw an enlarged heart, and they did a procedure, and that procedure just didn't do what they thought it would. And then that's when they said, okay, they passed the baton and said, hey, would you consent to go on a Centera heart? And that's when I went there. And yeah, because I don't want to say too much more from there unless you ask another question or something. So I didn't have that typical symptoms, and yeah, I didn't have them. Yeah.
So you knew you had an enlarged heart.
Well, when I was at Portsmouth Naval, that's when I found out
You found out
about
at that visit to Portsmouth Naval.
visit. I didn't know anything before then.
Wow.
Yeah,
And
I had no clue.
That's how mine started, being diagnosed with an enlarged heart, and a lot of people have those, and sometimes treatment can deal with it. But
Yes.
you get that diagnosis early. You got an enlarged heart, and that alerts the doctors, and then from there.
But I looked at my record once because everything was all over with, not over with, it's still not over with because you still go through some stuff. Because it's been like just 2 years for me now. But when I came home, and I finally, as my mom passed, I had a little bit more space in my brain to deal with stuff a little bit better. And I looked at my military medical record, and I saw where I had a heart arrhythmia. Yeah, I saw I had a heart arrhythmia, and I had a couple of X-rays, not X-rays, EKGs in my record that show abnormal something. And if I had known that, it was in my record. But when you're in the military and you're going 100 miles a minute, you don't notice nothing like that stuff because you're like young and you're traveling and you're doing that. And so the doctors didn't say anything other than, they didn't say anything that alarmed me, because if they had, then I would have paid it more attention. But I looked at my record and saw some things referenced in my heart. 17 years after I retired. Yeah.
Patricia, as we continue to talk, what you're saying, or what you have said up to this moment, is so important, because a lot of people out there probably, and just especially you saying you had no symptoms at all, and they probably would have come later, but by the time they came, you would have been much sicker. But that inner voice or whatever told you to go and get it checked out, and then the very next day the symptoms came on, and that's and that's just telling people you need to listen to your body and take care of, and especially if you have that family history. And so many people, and what is amazing what you said too, and I thought about this too, once you find out these things, and you said you look back in the record and saw some things happening then. And I remember our doctors telling me that the way my heart was, way back when I was doing all that pickup basketball, I could have just dropped dead, because of the family history and what was going on with my heart. But I didn't have any symptoms. But the issue with my heart was going on all these years, all the way back to high school. And I can remember, Leah, you can remember hearing about the Norcom players practicing, or one in particular, I can't remember his name, that just dropped dead while he was in practice. And he was a fit basketball high school. And of course, nobody knew what was going on with him then. Just like now, I try to advocate, when these athletes get checked out, because when the doctor used to check us out, they would just do one thing. Any man would know what I'm talking about. He would say, turn your head to the left and cough. And they would be checking for a hernia. And that's the only thing they check for. And I advocate now for these athletes coming in now, at least check out their heart, because we've had incidents with young men playing football and basketball that have heart issues and just drop, and So they need to, check those things out. But I just had to say that because what you said up to this point, hopefully it'll alarm a lot of our viewers
Yes.
to, pay attention. Like I always say, listen to your heart. Your body talks to you every day. It
Yeah.
tells you when you're feeling good. It tells you when you're feeling bad. And oftentimes we ignore those signs, those little things that the body be trying to tell you, something not right, and we wave it off. But check these things out. And you don't have to be in your 60s and 70s to
Yes.
wait for these things or think that that's when it happens. Because when I was in the hospital, it was a girl in there 10 years old with the same heart issues that all of us had in there. And unfortunately, she didn't make it.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
that's just to tell you how important it is to keep up with your health. And Leah, you know how important that is too, because
Oh yeah.
Leah's amazingly healthy. I don't see how she keeps.
I'm beginning to wonder now. I said, my goodness, you went without any symptoms at all.
And that's it's crazy. I know people wanted to give it something. And I told the doctors even at Centera. Now the only thing I can say is maybe those things I was just mentioning in my X-rays were indicators that there's something with my heart, and it was because it says abnormal reading. So those were things. And so to pick up on what I was just saying is probably I would tell somebody if they are aware, look in your record. If I have been, but life, it goes so fast.
It does.
I look back, if I had been more in tune, and I would tell anybody, if you have your medical record and you see something unusual like that, when things slow down, really take that information and give it to your doctor. Give it to your doctor and let them be the judge of, we need to run these other tests on you. And maybe if I had gotten other tests ran on me, they may have given me some medicine or did other procedures, so it wouldn't have been so traumatic for me. So that, knowing your genetic history, what's hereditary for you, but also too, sometimes it's just life. Because my PCM was stunned when she found out all I went through, because every year after I retired from the military, I continue to get annual physicals. Because I figure if I have insurance and I pay for it, I'm going to take advantage of it. Some people don't do that. And so I would say if people have insurance too, and I guess if you don't have insurance, you just got to be an advocate for yourself. You got to do something. But if you have insurance, why paying for it if you're not going to the doctor annually to get stuff checked out? Because that might tell you something. But my annual physical that shocked my PCM, I had a EKG done, and it didn't show anything. I had that done 8 or 10 months prior to me having what happened. So she was shocked that I went through what I went through. So sometimes it's just the way it is. It's like a chicken bomb, unfortunately, because they did tell me that what I had, because Centera diagnosed me with what they call a giant cell myocarditis. Okay, there's different forms of myocarditis, but giant cell and that was when it's normally caused by a virus or autoimmune disorder.
That's what got me.
Oh, did it? Okay.
A virus, yeah. Earlier.
Okay, and where it came from, but see, this is what I learned from reading. It comes from different things. It could be stress, it could be hereditary, it could be other things within your system that causes this to come back alive and create this issue with our heart and stuff. Yeah, and
Patricia,
so,
let me shout out. I see on our page. Let me shout out, and her, Marilyn Grant, who's watching.
no, she's not.
Yeah, she's watching. And
oh my God, Miss Marilyn.
Yeah, she mentioned your name, and Marilyn didn't actually work for. Well, she started out a volunteer because Marilyn had a sister that that had a heart transplant, and she's deceased now, but she
Uh-huh.
dedicated herself, after her sister was a patient there, to volunteer there, because she had a regular job at the shipyard, but she would be at the hospital working, and dedicated herself to the heart hospital, and everybody in the heart hospital knows her, and she's a Northam grad, but everybody knows her in the heart hospital,
And
and
let me
she's a
just say also that
go ahead.
Marilyn was one of my mother's children at St. Mark's Missionary Baptist Church. My mother
Yeah.
was a nurse in the nursing aid program there.
Oh,
And Marilyn was one
wow.
of the young people who was under her and Mrs. Miss Rosalie.
Yeah.
So yeah, so
So I had to shout out when I saw her.
No, look at this. If y'all can see this right here,
yes, I see it.
Yeah,
Miss
hold it up,
Marilyn.
hold it up,
Hold it up
hold it up
higher.
a little higher.
Yeah, I see Marilyn.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep, that was
Was she?
her. She just had her thing when she retired from the
Shipyard.
hospital.
In the hospital, yeah.
Mhm.
Yep, and I went to her thing,
Uh-huh.
and yep, and she's a sweetie. And even the day she had her ceremony there when she retired, she went up after the thing and did rounds around the hospital.
Yeah,
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 walked around to go to people and encourage them in their rooms and stuff.
yeah. She was
Yeah.
definitely a blessing to me and my wife when we were there. So I just had to shout her out. But
Oh,
I
well,
want
good
to
then.
mention this too. A lot of primary doctors, I think they're getting better, but one of the things that was known in the past that they would often misdiagnose women that had heart
Yeah,
issues,
I have heard that
and
many times.
say it was probably heartburn or a lot
Yes,
of other things because their symptoms didn't fit the symptoms that most men would get. And not all
yes,
men got the same symptoms, but it was pretty close to, a man could tell, the
yes.
stress in the arm, the neck, the shoulder, all
Hmm.
those basic things you hear about that most men are aware of. And women don't always get those type of symptoms. And so when you first went to their primary, they were and the EKGs are good, but they don't always pick up everything. And,
Right,
it can show a little
right.
abnormality there, but
Yes.
it's not to the point where they can read it and say, okay, you need to go to the heart hospital. So you just have to,
Hmm.
like Marilyn said on here, you have to advocate for yourself
We
when you go
do.
You
there,
We do.
do.
and you have to be informed. And it shows like this when we bring guests on that have experienced things like that help people, realize, I had those same symptoms, or like Leah is saying now, it makes you think, when you go to your primary, make sure they check out the heart as well, because
Exactly.
sometimes
Right,
a regular
Exactly.
right.
visit doesn't include that,
It
with
doesn't.
some
Sometimes
It
primaries,
it
does
doesn't.
because
not include that. And it makes me sit here and wonder now, do you ask to
you ask for it,
get
you
that
bring it up.
EKG? Do you ask to put you on that treadmill and see
If
how your heart is?
I think you're right. I think looking back, I think back to what you said, you just have to be an advocate, and you have to go in there. I think with notes in hand. I mean, I know
Mhm.
they only have like a few minutes with you, but you have to go in there with some notes in your hand that when they ask you questions, you have your notes of stuff that you want to get checked out so it don't get overlooked, because it can be, because they're only going to see you for so long when you're in there.
Exactly.
And so when you go in there, I had a stress test done years ago, like probably like 20 years ago. But I did all the things that you're supposed to do. And it's just, and it was escalated because I had a lot of stress going on too. Because when you're a caretaker, that is a lot of stress too. I
Yeah.
mean, that's a
Mhm.
lot of, that's a talk for a whole nother show.
Hmm.
Because
Yeah.
that's your mother, and you love your mother or your father, that loved one, like my niece loved for me. She was flying back and forth, and matter of fact, she came in here and started working here in the house. That's a stressful thing, that caretaker. And when my father passed, I was the one, I had brothers, but they was on drugs.
Hmm.
Mm.
So they in Tennessee, but I'm the one that's, if the plumbing go bad, if the toilet don't work, whatever, wherever I am, I'm the one that fixed it. you
Mhm.
Hmm.
know to make sure that my mom did not do without anything. You know, she said, baby, don't worry about it. You know how they do. I'm like, no, 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 no. I'm doing it for you, mom. I got it. And so, but prolonged stress could escalate, in my thinking, can escalate a lot of health issues too that you don't think about, but because we're so strong and we're going to get it done, we don't think about that part of it. So I think pretty much you just do the best you can and know you did the best you can, because if I had not been healthy, which means they had the annual physical, if I had not, had my shots up to date, if I had not been in a pretty good overall weight, and those things, it wouldn't have mattered to Centera, because if I had these other illnesses and whatever, I wouldn't have been able to be approved for a heart. That's the other side of it. So I would tell anybody, regardless of what cards you've been dealt, the best thing for you to do is take care of your body the best you can, to get your physicals, to exercise, to limit your stress, to whatever the doctors say, follow what the doctor tells you. So when, or if that time comes where it happened to me, because I had done those things, they approved me to get a heart. Because if I had not, some people, and James know, if you're not, it's just, why would they put a heart in me if I'm not taking care of myself? I'm on drugs and I'm smoking, blah, 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 doing all these other things. Why would they want to invest and put a heart in me when somebody else? It's not, because the likely is that it's going to last for me. And if I'm like my cousin, who was only 40-some years old, who was really overweight, like 300, 400 pounds. So they weren't going to put a heart in her. Unfortunately, as sweet as she was, but she would not stop doing the things they wanted her to stop doing. So why would they? And I hated it, but that's, so take care of yourself. So if something happened, and like Mama said too, keep a little weight on yourself, because you go to the hospital. I didn't understand when she said that. Because when you go to the hospital, child, you just be, good thing I had some weight to lose, because you get
you're gonna lose it if it's nothing to do but with the food they serve you. But that's another show too. But I wanted to say this about the people that go to the doctor, and you mentioned about some doctors have a very limited time, and a lot of time that's dictated by the insurance companies. But I would tell people to ignore that, because if you Marilyn said something about having a pen and pencil and have a note of things before you go to the doctor that you want to check on and ask, because you get there and you might forget it. And as long as you're asking questions and doing that, they have to sit there and listen. But if you don't have any questions, they're going to run you through and try to put you in that window that they are are kind of forced by the insurance company to say, well, this is how much time you need to see each patient. But each patient doesn't need they need more time. And you can dictate that by continuing to ask questions, because they're not going to put you out if you still asking questions about your test that they run. And sometimes you have to tell them, look, doc, break it down. I didn't go to medical school. So break it down to me, because sometimes they will talk to you like you went to medical school. So when you go to your doctor, you have to be in control, and they cannot put you out sooner than you want to be put out of there.
Yes. And as for a printout, like when they start telling y'all your blood work and stuff, and they just tell you, oh, this is on the number high. Well, don't ask them, okay, print that out for me. So when you go home, you can be able to take your time and see if you're in the right ranges, and highlight, like if you're not. So when you do go back, you can say, okay, you ask questions about whatever that may be that you're interested in. Because, and the other thing too is remain as calm as you can, because if, like they say, pour sugar on it, not salt. So if you go in there, like, you got to be very presentable to them too, and let them know that you're trying to be an advocate for yourself, and in a calm voice, and not, push, where you'd be disrespectful and stuff. And they're 9 out of 10, they're not going to put you out. They're going to
No,
answer your
and
questions.
if you're that kind of person, you're shy and you don't say, take somebody with you, and
Yeah.
you can always request somebody to come in there with you, a family
Yeah.
member or a good friend. Take somebody with you that will advocate for you.
Mm-hmm.
Or if
You
you're
can
not that
sign up
kind of
now
person,
for the patient porters now,
yeah,
where you can go
Yes.
online and you can look at all of your lab work and your
yeah.
visits
My
and
chart
everything.
is one of the things that
Yeah,
you
my
can
chart.
sign up
Yeah.
for.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
also, what you said earlier, which is truly important, is knowing the family history.
Yes.
And even I know I did the ancestry.
Okay.
And through the ancestry, I was, my grandson is type 1 diabetic, and I was trying to figure out where in the family history did it come from. And after
Yeah.
doing the ancestry search, was able to learn of those individuals. Even my mother's sister, who had passed at 12 years of age due to diabetes.
Ooh.
So it's important to know, go back and look at some of that family history and see what type of situations were taking place with them as far as their health is concerned.
Yeah.
You know, and you can really get a lot when you're going at it was just it was some 123 and ancestry.com, but
Yes.
it really helps you to see the history of those individuals and what situations they were in as far as their health was concerned.
Yes.
I know a lot of people don't want to do it because you learn some things you don't want to learn sometimes too.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
but
Yeah. That is true.
but the health portion is extremely important, especially if you have family members that don't talk about their health.
And
Right.
you're so right, Leah, and knowing that family history, and especially when you're dealing with their heart, if you have some other things going on, they eventually find it out. But if going in, they know about it, because
Yes.
I went in and I had issues with my heart, but they found out I had thyroid issues, where it probably would have kept me from being on the list if they hadn't taken
Yeah.
the thyroid issue was so serious they had to remove them.
Mhm.
And so once they removed them, and then I was on medication for that, that kept me on the list. But it did take 3 years, because like you said earlier, I had that heart pump, while I was waiting. And Patricia, I want to ask you this, because this is important too, as far as heart patients being on the list. The blood type, as far as the hearts available, people with the rare blood types usually gets their heart quicker because it's rare. Like if you're type O, like a lot of people are, you might be on that list a little longer because there's so many people that are type O, and there's so many, it's more people waiting for hearts than hearts become available. But those people that have a rare blood type, or a blood type that not as many people have, tend to be able to get those hearts quicker because of their rarity. What was your blood type O, or because it seemed like you got
No,
yours
I had
quick?
it's B positive, but the other thing
No.
too, though, is you and I had talked before, but my need for a heart compared to somebody else, because I was dying. My heart was working at Portsmouth Naval. My heart, I didn't know this till later, it was working at 14%.
Oh wow.
When I went in there. And that's by the grace of God, because I know I didn't have any breathing issues or anything that people have. So, but I found out my heart was working at 14%.
And let me say 14%, where 60% and above is normal.
Okay.
So that gives you a comparison how
60%
14%, you're at knocking at the door there.
Yeah. And so it was so bad that when I went to Centera, that they had to put me on what you call an ECMO machine. And that ECMO machine, it's a long name. I wrote it down. But
it's
the
about this
ECMO
long.
machine, that's when you go.
That's the
it's
short
called,
version.
Yes, alone. Yeah. And there's a life support where it pumps and oxygenates a patient's blood outside of the body, allowing the heart and lungs to rest. And by the way, this machine, it sits next to you wherever you're in the bed, and it's a machine that sits on the side of the bed. Now, because my heart completely failed, but God bless that Centera has this ECMO machine, and they connected my heart just in time to keep me alive. And because of that, and because I was healthy, taking care of myself, I moved up on that list.
Pretty
Yeah, I moved
quickly.
up on the donor list because it was crucial. But the one thing that I gotta say, this part right here, that it said, and I'll read it exactly what it was. Recently, I heard a guy, an actor on TV, that had to get a heart transplant. And the person interviewing him asked him, what is ECMO? He said, for people that know football, ECMO is a Hail Mary.
All right.
According to the dictionary, the definition of Hail Mary is the last ditch effort with little chance of success. And to that I say, but God.
But
Yeah, but God. So it's the last, so the ECMO is the last chance for you to stay in the world. And everybody who gets on it, it doesn't work even at that moment. It just all depends on, those people are amazing at Centera that they can do what they do and monitor you, because that blood is circulating from that machine and your whole body is going through that machine just like this right here, which is really crazy. Yeah.
So the left and right side of your heart failed.
See that part, see, that's the other thing too. Because my stuff was so traumatic, there are certain things I still don't know, because it was just overwhelming for me, because I was in the hospital for 4 months, you know. Yeah. And so when I was in the hospital, this person who's independent in the hospital that long, I ain't thinking about left or right, none of that stuff. You know, I'm just trying to figure out, like, how did I get here? Like, what in the world happened? Because now I can't walk, I can't talk, you know, and I'm just laying there and it's just overwhelming. So now I'm finally able to ask questions a little bit more and understand things a little bit more. Those things I have no idea.
Yeah, from what you're saying, I'm thinking both sides, left and right failed. With me, it was my left side, and that's where you're a candidate for the heart pump. You probably want a candidate for the heart pump.
Okay.
Because the right side failed. When the right side fails, that's when they put you on the ECMO machine, because the right side is so vital, you know. So that's what happened. So, but
you can be a doctor, man, as much as you know.
Well, I don't know that much. Just know what they had to do with me.
I mean, not to do it, but you got the knowledge.
It's
because
probably
that makes sense what you just said.
A better medical explanation than what I said, but you know,
I
ran into some people that their right side failed and they were on that machine as well. This huge, you know, machine that's in the room beside you.
Yes.
You can't walk around with that.
Right. You can't live. You can't. You know, you just have to lay in the bed with it.
Yeah.
And so the one thing that I gotta say this too before we run out of time is my heart goes out to donors. You know, in our cases, because we're talking about transplant. If I was just talking about a heart, I'd probably be like, okay, but because we are transplant recipients, the donors that donated their heart, God bless them and their families. And that's a very traumatic thing for them to go through, knowing that they're going to be giving up that loved one's part of their body, their heart, or whatever somebody else may need. And so thanks to those donors and stuff, because of them, we're living. Yeah.
And only because of them.
Yes.
And
yeah.
Don't forget
and God.
I gotta say, don't forget that. Leah, did you want to get in there? I don't know if you.
I know time's too by
you're
fast.
taking all the information in.
I'm soaking all of this information in and making a list of some things that I need to take care of. Okay. But also, you know, and it's important too that we learn to be organ donors. You know, as African Americans, a lot of times we don't want to be organ donors. I've heard older people say, well, oh no, if you become an organ donor, you get into the hospital, they'll let you die just so they can get your parts. But no, but we need to learn to become organ donors as well.
Good point.
You know, somebody's life can be saved as a result of your life. You know, so put your name down, go down and sign that card at the DMV and tell them you want to be an organ donor, because it's important that they know in advance, because there's a set amount of time that's needed once a person passed in order to save those organs. So we need to definitely give that some consideration as well.
And
Mhm.
it's important to be an organ donor too, because they need all kinds, because us, the ones that need a heart, is
Mhm.
certain things that have to match up in order
Yeah.
for you to get that heart. Like I'm
Mhm.
6'5", I couldn't get a heart from somebody that's 5'2".
Yes.
So it's going to take a variety of people, to be donors. The weight has
Mhm.
to match, the height has to be close, and a lot of other, of course, the blood type, and a lot of other things have to weigh in. So that's why we need as many people
You're
to
right.
to be donors.
Mhm.
And for those people that worry about the doctors, seeing you as a heart. I mean, their first thing is to do is to save the lives of the people that
Yeah.
are
Exactly.
there. And when it
Yeah.
gets to that point where somebody might be brain dead or something like that, unfortunately, one family has to. But that person, you know, kind of lives on through somebody else.
Yes.
Exactly.
And that's why it's important sometimes for those families to meet the actual recipient. I didn't get that chance. The thing goes where you can contact them after a year after you had your heart, and either they want to respond back or not. And I haven't
Right.
had that opportunity. But a lot of people want to meet that person that has the heart because they feel like it's a part of their family member that's still living in someone
Yes.
else. So,
Yeah, because I wrote letters to the family. I wrote one my first year, and then this past Christmas, I wrote a letter to the family. But I also extended that if they wanted to, I would have no problem flying to an airport so they could hear the heart. I mean,
so
because God has blessed me that
mhm.
if that helped them or whatever, they know that I would fly to the airport just for that purpose, and they could hear the heart. Or when they write me back, I also offered that. I don't know if you guys heard of these little bears. They're like bears that
Yeah.
people make,
Yeah.
and they put this. Okay, and I had said, okay, I'll find. I'm sure LifeNet, which does charges all the donor thing, if they
Mhm.
could figure out like, okay, where can I get that bear from, and then I can get my heartbeat put inside of it, and I would mail it to the location, and then they would be able to give it to that family if they wanted to. But I have not heard back from the family. And it's a difficult thing because it's hard for them, no doubt, because
Yeah.
I'm sure their loved one didn't just pass. Something happened, traumatic, no doubt, that
Mhm.
caused them to be able to pass and stuff. So somebody had to die in order for me to live, you
Mhm.
know.
Yeah.
And but in all, I would tell somebody to just do your part, meaning take care of yourself, meaning eat as best you can, exercise, limit your stress. Because I had done all those things, I really believe that, and the doctors told me, because you were constantly pushing your body and working out, that is more likely that kept me living because I was making that muscle work
Mhm.
um, instead of just sitting on the couch. Ain't nothing wrong with watching TV. And he's saying that, because a person can die running,
Yeah.
you know. So I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying, in theory, there are those things that you're supposed to do to take care of your body. I don't care who you are. There are those lists of things. If you go on the internet, or the doctor would tell you, I was doing those things. And so that is most likely, as they said, which helped me to live and have that quality of life all those years, because my military record says that I had those abnormalities. And then I found out I have the genetics, the history in my family. So it was like Russian roulette. You just didn't know. But because I took care of myself, it allowed me to live all that time
Mhm.
without having
Yeah.
this episode.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
Mhm.
Because I,
Yeah.
yeah.
And as we wind down
Mhm.
this show, it's always so much we can talk about this issue. But I was glad we would be able to get this show in,
Mhm.
as a lot of focus this month is on Black History, but we always try to have something concerning Heart Month, and we could have somebody talking any month of it, just like Black History, any month of the year we can talk about
Mhm.
that. So we'll be glad to have you back, or
Thank
other
you.
people, and also it's good to have a support system of other heart recipients or
Yes,
heart patients that have gone through something, which Centura has that.
it's support group.
Have
Yes,
a
yeah,
group support group that really helps. And one other thing, as we talk about mental health here a lot, and you
yes,
mentioned stress, you know, if you need to get counseling for some of the things that you're going through, and sometimes you don't have to go through something dramatic to seek counseling. Sometimes you just
right.
need to do it to because that kind of stress can be physically demanding.
Yes,
And if you already have a weak heart or something else going on with you, that just adds
yep,
to it. So
it
you need
does.
to have, clear your mind up here. So all that stuff comes together or plays an important part of how healthy you're going to be, your mind,
Hmm.
body, and soul. So
Amen.
Yes,
make sure you take
yes,
care of all of those
Mhm.
things.
yes, exactly.
And
And listening to, like I said, listening to what you guys do, it's just the way life is to me is there throughout the day, there are these little things that spark you. We're so busy, we miss them. And so I would say to anybody that when you're going through your day, slow down enough that your body talks to you, not all the time, no doubt, but you have to really get to know you, you know, get to know you. And for me, it just was that quiet voice just telling me, hey, Pat, go get checked out, and learn, so hopefully somebody got something from, one of our conversations and us talking and stuff, because
yeah, there's
Look,
that pillow.
my mother had a heart valve replacement, and she had that pillow.
yes,
She had that pillow. Yes, she
Yeah.
did.
Right after heart surgeries, I have a couple of them here. Right after the heart, they give you that because you tend to cough, and if you're coughing,
right,
Yeah,
you have to hold on to that pillow
yes.
because that the place where they cut you open can
yes, yep,
really hurt. But those pillows become a part of you because that was something, one of the first things they gave you to hold on besides
yeah,
your family. Uh, so I believe every heart patient keeps those
yeah,
because the nurses, everybody signs them, you
Mm-hmm.
know.
they do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So the doctors and of course you want to get your heart surgeon to sign it as well. But
Yeah.
anyway, we running down there. Liv, do you have any last
No,
minute?
I think that this was truly a blessing. I'm sure for many people, and I hope that people would take heed and they will go to their doctor and they will
Yes.
ask questions and they will
Yes.
ask to have a stress test and an EKG. That's on my agenda. I'm due for a physical, and I would definitely ask for those things.
Yeah.
But and also pay close attention to your health. Listen to your
Yes.
body. Your body talks to you. So
Yes.
listen to your body, listen to what your body has to say. And
Yes.
sometimes things happen just to make you slow down, just to slow down, stop for a moment and,
Right.
and, and take heed. So, Patricia, I want to thank you so very much. And
Thank you.
it's been very enlightening. And I'm thanking God that He blessed you and James both to still
Yes.
be here amongst us
Mm.
by providing that donor
Hmm.
that family who was willing to
Yes.
give each of you your new lease, your new birthday, your new
Yes.
birthday.
Right. New
So
birthday.
it's been great. It's been great meeting you. And if
Thank
you're a
you.
friend of mine, Marilyn Grants, you are a friend of mine. Okay.
Thank you.
My mother loved Marilyn Grant. She loved her
Um,
dearly. So
she's a
And
sweetie.
she
I like
really
to
Sweetie.
is. She
I like
really
to
is.
add too that this education is important because it's important for you to know what your symptoms that you're having. But the
Hmm.
more you know about the symptoms or signs, you might see it in one of your family members that they
Yes.
Exactly.
don't
Yes.
see it or feel in themselves. So you might be able to see somebody breathing a little harder, and they might not realize they are, breathing a
Right.
little harder, and they haven't done anything to
Yes.
exert themselves, but so those little signs like
Good
that you
one.
might notice on them before they notice themselves. So the more you know about what we're going on through, what we're talking about here, even though you haven't experienced it,
Mhm.
Just the knowledge might be life-saving
Yes,
for somebody else
Exactly.
as well as
so
yourself
true.
down the road.
Yep.
And James,
Patricia,
and
I'd like to
also to
thank you.
remember, just as
Yeah,
Pat said, she didn't experience any of those
I
things.
yeah,
didn't.
She just
yeah.
listened
Yep.
to her body and listened to
Yep.
that inner voice. And she
Yes.
went to ask to be
Yep.
checked out. So a lot of
Yep.
times you may not experience the symptoms, but you
Yes.
need to ask the doctors to check you out thoroughly.
Yes.
But soon after they checked her in the hospital, she got them all. They just think she could have gotten all those things being at home,
Exactly.
by
Exactly.
Exactly.
herself.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
it could have been, something that was, could have been very damaging, if
Yes.
they had been, gotten really serious, to a point of a heart attack or a stroke or something like that.
Stroke,
So,
right?
yeah.
Right.
So,
Yep. So do your part is the thing is do your part, whatever it may be an advocate for yourself. And it may not be the typical the book typical symptoms and stuff, but get that annual physical. And like Leah said, ask about the cardiovascular part of it, because that may not be part of the annual physical. Ask them, say, you want to get a cardiologist or somebody to be part of your annual physical.
Yes. Yes.
And that they may catch something because they didn't catch anything with my annual physical cardiology, but I would not say not to, I would say do those things, be an advocate, because sure enough, something could show in yours that will catch something and help you. But knowing that history, like y'all said from the beginning, knowing that history, if I had known all the things I knew, I probably would have been a little bit more advocating for the heart part of it. But hey, I was working out, running miles and riding the bike. I was fine as far as I was
yeah.
concerned. But the Lord just blessed me and took care of me and saw different. So I'm very grateful. Yeah, very grateful. So
And one other thing, this is to parents that might watch this. If you have school-age children that are going out for sports or anything, make sure you go that extra mile and get them checked out by your personal doctor before the
yeah,
season starts. Not taking it away from what the school system does as far as
true.
their examination, but especially if it's a family history. And like we
Yes,
said, you don't have to be in your 60s, 50s, 70s in order to have these problems. It could occur in that high school or junior high school or
yes,
even little league,
yes.
kids. So make sure because of your history, watch out for your children too, because they could very well suffer from some
Very
things
good.
that you think only adults suffer from. So
Yes. Because kids
that,
won't say anything. So you have to, like you said earlier, pay attention to them too. When you start seeing that they out of breath or they like maybe do some things and you're like, wait a minute, what's wrong, baby? You just have to just take them to the doctor then too, because they probably won't say much because it's just not something you do. You just don't say as a teenager playing football, a college, you just think, okay, I ran too hard or I practiced too hard that day or I didn't sleep.
mhm.
But tell your parents, that I was out of breath a little bit. I felt some pain. Just do that part. Tell that school doctor, the coach rather, and then they tell. Don't just ignore that because you're young.
Because you're young
Because you're
and
young. Don't ignore that.
invincible. Okay, well,
Yeah.
thanks everybody for watching. And
Thank
Portsmouth
you.
Coffee Talk is here for our voice
Our community and
and
our
our
future.
future.
And we
And we
salute you,
salute you,
Patricia. We
Patricia, and
salute
thanks
you.
Thanks,
for coming
y'all.
on
Thank you
and
so very much for coming on. Thank
Thank y'all
sharing your
very much.
very personal
And
story
thanks,
with us.
and thanks
Very
to each of
informative.
those on Facebook Live. And you can view it
Yeah.
again later on YouTube.
On
If you miss
YouTube.
any
God
portions
bless.
of this interview. Okay, have a blessed
Thank
day,
y'all.
Patricia.
Have a blessed day too. Thank y'all so much.
Okay, and we look forward to having you
Opportunity.
back one day.
Okay, I look forward to it so I can run my mouth.